Hello, friends, and so lovely to have you here for the lesson 6, unit 4. And we are towards the end of the course now, and this is the second last lesson, and this is on gender issues and social inclusion. So, in this lesson, we are going to talk about five things. As you know, India is the fastest growing economy in the world. So, with the economic growth, we are not being able to grow in terms of the Human Development Index. So, let us discuss what are the challenges our country is facing in terms of gender inequality, gender pay gap, social exclusion, and what are the initiatives which the government has taken, and in detail whether those steps have been effective so far. So let us start. Let us talk about gender inequality in India. So when we talk about gender inequality, so in our country we see a lot of violence against women, we see a lot of dowry deaths, and the opportunities for female to take up education is still a big challenge for our country. The labor force participation of women, property rights, which has changed over the years, but still it's an issue. And how many top positions have been taken by the women in our country. So if we look at India's gender slide as per the World Economic Forum report of 2017, India's rank is 108th out of 144 nations when we talk about Global Gender Gap Index. So the Gender Gap Index in 2016, India's rank was 87. In 2006, it was 98. So it was improving, but when we talk about 2017, it has gone down. If you look at China, it is a rank is 100. Russia, the rank is 71. South Africa is doing very well, rank is 19, and Brazil is 90. So these are the other BRICS countries in terms of the Global Gender Gap Index. So India has to work hard on this. If we talk of the scorecard, if you remember, we talked about uh, sustainable development goals, which the Niti Aayog has set and started recently. And there is one index factor, and there were a lot of indices on which that SDG India index is given to each state. So when you look at India's scorecard on women in India, if you look in this diagram on the Indian map, so the scores are for gender equality. So the performers are Chandigarh, Kerala, Sikkim, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which has the highest score. If you look at the seats which the Indian women are holding in the state legislative assemblies, it is only 8.7%. 1 in 3 women in India have experienced some violence at home, and for every 1,000 boys, there are 898 girls which are born in India. So there is a huge gap there. 54% of the women, they adopt the modern methods of family planning, which is low. 70% of man's pay is what women's earn for the same job. And if we talk of percentage of country's labor force where women are there, it is 32%. So India is the only large country where more girls die than boys. And one in every three child brides in the world is a girl in India. So child marriages still are happening in our country. Some more stats to understand where India stands. For the maternity benefits which the women are eligible for, only 36.4% have received these benefits. 50% of pregnant women aged between 15 and 49 are anemic, half of them. And there is a mortality rate, maternal mortality rate of 130 per 1 lakh births in our country, which is very high. Very surprising and disappointing stat is only 43.8% of households have access to clean cooking fuel. So in terms of the gender inequality, India has to work very hard. If we talk of gender pay gap, so Indian women earn 19% less than men overall. And the gender pay difference is widening with higher skill level. As the women go up the ladder, this pay gap is increasing. So if we talk on an average, the median gross hourly wages for women 207 Indian rupees, whereas for men it is 288. So that's where the gap is. You might recognize these two cricket icons, both captains of Indian cricket team, both brought laurels in terms of the World Cup for India. One playing for men's cricket team and one the captain of women's cricket of India. Look at the yearly income of Virat Kohli, which is 7 crores, whereas Mithali Raj earns around 50 lakhs per annum. So that's the disparity as you go up. Let's also look at the social inclusion. Now, in our country, people have multiple intersecting identities in terms of location, gender, sexual orientation, in terms of disabilities, ethnicity, marital status, refugee status, employment status, age, religion. Now, these are very highly contextual. So, when we talk about social exclusion, that is the process where the individuals or groups are excluded from facilities, benefits, and opportunities that others enjoy in our country, like separation from employment, social relationships, the social systems that our country has. So when we talk about social inclusion, it is the process where we have to improve the terms so that the individuals and groups can become part of the society. So they are able to take part in society in terms of the markets that exist, the services, whether it is the social protection or the spaces, in terms of the positions the different groups or individuals can take, whether political or cultural or in terms of the employment. So we need to include all these groups and individuals socially by actively working to address the underlying causes that produce exclusion, so that everyone, whether poor or rich, whether from one religion or the other, they are included in the development process. And we talked about inclusive growth earlier. This can be done by improving and upskilling their ability, providing more opportunities to these groups so that they can live with dignity in our country. Now, a lot of steps have been taken by Government of India for social inclusion, and one of the biggest, most effective step which India has taken is the digital environment, the digital platform which has been extended to all the groups. So that digital leap has really led to reduced income inequality and the financial inclusion. How it has happened? Through this diagram. So earlier people were not served, they were unserved. Any money that was going from the government was not reaching those groups or any policies or schemes. So with the digital platform, and one of the things about financial inclusion, so the bank accounts, the transaction account has been opened for everyone, irrespective of their background. So the banks, the microfinance institutions, mobile network operators, card companies, postal networks, financial cooperatives, they have been asked to open these transaction accounts, whether these are for saving accounts, credit accounts, whether these are for any payments from the government to the common man, insurance or remittances. So now they are being served through a transaction account. They can use any of the financial services through these digital platforms. So one of the initiatives by Government of India has been the historic budget of 95,000 crores, which was set up for the welfare of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. So this was around also 41% increase for other backward classes welfare from 2018-19. So as a result, 5.7 crore students have received scholarships. And for the other backward classes, pre-matric scholarships, the income eligibility, right, raised from 44, almost 50,000 to 2.5 lakhs. Similarly, for scheduled caste scholarships, pre-matric conditions and the income eligibility has also been raised. So as to include more and more people into the social network. Another big initiative of Government of India has been the Stand Up India initiative, wherein it has started providing composite loans from 10 to 100 lakh INR, hand holdings, credit guarantee support, a portal, the digital platform has been set for extending these services and also for online registration. So basically, this is targeting, and the initiative is to empower all the backward categories of people in India and also for women entrepreneurs so that they are standing on their own. So, this entrepreneurship for socio-economic empowerment has been initiated under a lending mudra initiative, and of the total loan accounts which have been opened till date, 74% are of women and around 50% are for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward communities. So the loans to the tune of 68,930 have been sanctioned, and to the amount of 15,112 crores. Let us have a look at the women's share in workforce. If we look at Indian scenario of women in the national workforce, mostly the women are engaged in agriculture or other rural industrial work. It is surprising to know that the work participation rate of urban women is lower than the rural women. Also, the literate women participation is lower than the illiterate women participation. Good thing is that the female students are rising. If you look at 2015-16 data, it has come to around 48%, almost half. So the student number in terms of the female students is rising, whereas the workforce is almost one-fourth, which is 27%. 11% representation in the parliament. In the state legislatives, as we discussed earlier, is around 8.8%. And only around 3.4% of our CEOs are women in the top 500 Indian companies. Now, how the social inclusion can take place and what steps in the corporate world have been taken. Now, in 2018, they have introduced in the community business for the purpose of social inclusion. They have started with diversity and inclusion awards under different categories, wherein they pick the companies who are awarded under each category, like Employee Network Award, Advancement of Women Award, Disability Confidence Award, LGBT plus Inclusion Award, Promoting Social Inclusion Award. So mostly the focus area is the workplace inequality. So in 2019, so they have been promoting more and more social inclusion awards under BE&IE awards. Just to conclude, what is needed is a strong social policy so as to include all members of the society. Irony is, India is the fastest growing economy, but our human development has not been able to keep pace with the economic growth. Caste based and gender inequalities in India have been increasing, which have excluded millions, and most of them live in rural areas. So, as a result, these disadvantaged populations in the rural areas suffer a lot. So, the need is for inclusive social policy program so as to strengthen the social protection to this strata of society and thereby increasing the investment, especially for children, because it takes a lot of time for social inclusion. So let me summarize what we discussed in lesson 6. We talked about gender inequality, gender pay gap, social inclusion, and India's response through India Stand Up initiative, and what are the steps have been taken by Government of India. So that is all from my side. Here is a small quiz for you. Question number 1. Which state has the best score for gender in gender equality? Question number 2. Indian women earn what percentage less than Indian men? So how much less they earn than the Indian men? Work rate participation of rural women is higher or lower than urban women in India? I'm sure you have written your answers. Just check the answers here. Andaman and Nicobar Islands has the best score for gender equality. Indian women earn 19% less than Indian men. Work rate participation of rural women is higher than urban women in India. If you have any questions, feel free to write to me and I'll be answering that within 24 hours. If you want to do some further reading, this is a good article from the World Bank on social inclusion. Thank you very much, and I'll be coming up soon with the last lesson of this unit. Bye for now. Shabba khair.